Hello rowers, this is Travis. Welcome to this, what is actually a second part. I'm going to make this the second part of my discussion talking about power curve. And this was actually filmed at the same time as the last video I posted, which talked about the power curve on the erg monitor. But this particular part of that discussion was focused very specifically for why it's important, that power application is important for on the water rowing. And so since that video was running long, I decided to kind of cut it into two parts. And this is the part that is going to talk specifically about why that progressive power application, that acceleration of the stroke from beginning of the connection to the end of the release, is essential for performance on the water. So if you're on the water rower, keep watching. I think you'll really benefit from this. If you're an indoor rower and you're just curious, continue on. But otherwise, I'll go ahead and cut to that. And I hope you guys, enjoy this educational video. Bye. I do want to talk about kind of the idea of why it is essential to accelerate through the drive, especially on the water. And I'm going to talk about this specifically on the water, and then all of the reasons that this transfers to being on the indoor rower is simple efficiency. All right, is that smooth application of power is the most efficient, kind of pulsing. All right, and we can go back to that car analogy. If you're just kind of pulsing the gas pedal down the highway, that is going to burn through your gas way quicker than if you just apply an even pressure on that gas pedal and kind of cruise on. All right, same thing here. All right, if you apply a good smooth pressure to that drive and create that nice beautiful parabolic power curve, then you're going to be rowing the most efficient. On the water, all right, why is this important? All right, why do you need to row? Why do you need to accelerate the blade all the way through the water from the beginning to end? All right, and the best way to do this is to break down the stroke into very small fractions of a second. All right, so imagine you are 10% of the way through your drive, you have started to accelerate, all right, and that you're in the, let's say, the 100th of 1,000 parts of that drive sequence. Well, as soon as you finish with that 100,000th, then the boat is therefore moving at that speed that you just applied. So when you move to the 101 section of that 1,000 section part of your drive, you need to now be moving slightly faster than the boat. And then in the 102nd section, millisecond of that drive, you need to be moving slightly faster than the 101st, all right? Because again, when you get to the 102nd part, or 1,000th of that drive, your boat is already moving as fast as it was on the 101 because you have accelerated it. So if you continue to move at the same speed that you were that millisecond before, you're not going to be doing work on the water. You're just going to be moving your blade with the speed of the water. And you can extrapolate that all the way through that drive. Every millisecond of that drive, you have moved the boat slightly faster than the millisecond before. And if you do not continue to accelerate, then you're just going to have this lag point where you and the boat are moving at the same speed. All right, and so that is why you must continue to accelerate the boat from beginning to end. All right, because the moment you stop building the speed, all right, you're just moving with the boat. All right, because the boat has already caught up to the speed that you created in that instant before. All right, and you need to sequence your drive, and you need to refine your technique to the point where you are building that acceleration through from drive to release, and that your acceleration is at its peak at the release. And then when you get to the release, you need to do what I say. A lot of people call it the finish. I like to call it the release for just this reason, is that when you get to the release, you should let go of the water. All right, you don't want to jam your blade out of the water. That is bad rowing. All right, you want to release the water, and thanks to the little pocket of water that is formed behind your blade, again, thanks to acceleration, if you do not accelerate, that pocket is going to fill, and you are going to have to jerk your blade out of the water because you do not have a little pocket of air to give you that fraction of a second you need to slip the blade out of the water and move into the recovery sequence. But going back to the acceleration, if you have accelerated all the way through the drive and your boat is moving at peak acceleration at the moment of the release, that moment dictates the speed of the boat through the entire recovery, all right? And this is where the free speed comes from, all right? This is where you transfer from being an okay novice to being a very good varsity rower, when you truly understand how to maximize and produce free speed, all right? And how you move through recovery is a certain part of that, but the first step of that is being able to take all the work that you've produced on the drive and transfer 100% of that acceleration into the recovery phase of the drive, all right? And again, as soon as you take your blade out of the water, you can no longer affect what is happening for the boat acceleration, all right? Acceleration is gonna come purely through conservation of center of mass as you move back to the front of the stroke, all right? And so you have set that acceleration curve, and that acceleration curve is going to continue for the rest of that. If you have a power dynamic in the boats where you just kind of slam the front end and you just kind of cruise through the back end, then that speed, you may have produced the same amount of speed on that drive. You may have producing an even greater peak with that initial kind of slam of the legs, but the speed that you take out of the drive sequence and you carry into that acceleration, all right, is smaller, all right? And then it's going to kind of determine the entirety of your acceleration for the rest of that drive sequence, all right? And so let's go back to the board. All right, and I'll use red because that one stands out the most. So, all right, this is what most people think is going to be happening on the recovery, all right? So you have built up speed on your drive. This is the moment of the release, and then the boat is just gonna kind of slow down through the recovery, all right? Well, if you're thinking about it that way, then you can also think about it like, oh, well, maybe I build here, all right, and then I finish here, and let's say the area under this curve equals the area under this, all right? So your force is the same, but you finished at a different place. Well, on the recovery, you're not doing anything to the boat anymore. So the boat is now starting from a lower place. And so the total sum of your work is way less, all right, than the sum if you added all of this to your work, all right? And that's why, you know, you can have people of very similar erg scores or strength or power output that are vastly different on the water, all right? Because this is huge, all right? The people that are able to maximize the boat speed at the release and therefore on the recovery are benefiting this entire amount through the entire recovery sequence, all right? And they're not doing anything. In fact, they're doing as little as possible. They are in recovery mode, all right? And so that is why it is essential to ensure that you are releasing the boat at the most speed that you possibly can, and the way to do that is by a consistent acceleration. No sudden shifts. If anything, you could maybe, all right, do something where you're super conservative at the front and then you really ramp it up. And I actually do this as a drill with people in the water. I call it 0 to 100% pressure drill. All right, so they start the drive at 0% effort, and then quarter of the way through they're at 25% effort, 50% effort, 75, 100% effort. The secret to that is that's actually how I kind of want them to apply their power at all times, and I tell them that after they do the drive. And but you do need to have enough quickness in reality to actually connect to the water at the front end. So you've got to still connect, and you've got to kind of do, that acceleration curve there. But it is a decent drill to kind of do even on the erg, all right? So just kind of row on the erg and just start where you feel like you're beginning the drive at 0% effort, and you're building to 100% as you get all the way through to the release, all right? But let's do a little bit of bonus here before I sign off for the day. Now, I will say for those super physics nerds out there who know even more physics than me with my 3 semesters of college before I changed majors, that this might not be perfect, all right? This is just kind of an illustration for the masses to kind of understand what is happening. But contrary to popular belief, the boat does not stop accelerating at the release. All right, the boat continues to accelerate all the way from the release up to the moment of the catch when you stop moving, and then the speed falls dramatically. So the reason for that is conservation of center of mass. But what is happening with the boat is that you are actually going to build kind of your momentum there. You hit it at the release, and then the boat is still going to kind of cruise for a moment while you're setting the arms and body over, and then it is going to accelerate a little bit as your body weight moves, all right, because there is a law in physics, conservation of center of mass. And so if I have a fixed system here, which then has two things in it, so let's say I have a big weight here in this boat, all right, and let's say the center of mass between the boat and that big weight is somewhere over, gosh, what would it be? Somewhere, let's say here, all right? So that center of mass of the boat, center of mass of this thing, so the center of mass of the system is somewhere in between there. In the boat, assuming you're not pulling yourself forward, assuming that you're letting the boat move under you, as your body weight moves that way relative to the boat, all right, the center of mass of the system must remain constant, all right? So if you're moving your mass that way, all right, then in order to maintain this law of physics where the center of mass must remain constant, the boat must move this way, all right? So by shifting your body weight toward the stern of the boat will actually accelerate towards the bow, all right? It will continue to get faster, all right? Very cool, fun to think about. But the moment you stop moving, all right, within that system, the boat suddenly starts to slow down because of drag, all right, drag on the water. And it's constantly being affected by the drag of the water, but your kind of shifting, relative shifting of weight within the system is more powerful than that, and so you are getting an accelerating effect. But that's it. Lots of nerdy stuff there. Lots of stuff for you guys to chew on. But that's it. So, you know, if this is your first time finding the channel, subscribe. Throw that little kind of, you know, floaty button there, pop up. Subscribe, hit the bell notification. Like the video to give it a little thumbs up. YouTube likes it. It shares it with more people randomly on their algorithm. The more people kind of thumbs up and comment and subscribe and all the fun stuff. All right, so if you want to help the channel out, you can do all those things so that other people kind of find out that I'm here and that I'm kind of throwing all this information out to you guys in the community. But that's it. Check out GTS Rowing if you want a little bit of kind of one-on-one coaching yourself, either a consultation call where I can answer any of your questions or an actual kind of regular remote coaching relationship. I am more than happy to work with any athletes that are willing to do the work and want to improve. But that's it. This is Travis signing off. Thanks everybody, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.